person watching this will be a hashtag millionaire in the next year. Start with buying your dream home. Affirm yes.
In the Rich Auntie Life series, we are talking about how to not let your family drama drive you crazy. But before we get started, you know what I want you to do? I want you to head over to beacons.ai/Rashida McFerren and check out all of our course offerings and our freebies, and then come back over here and spend some time with us. We're going to dive right in. Today is the day before my father's 1 year death. I don't want to call it an anniversary because it's not an anniversary. Death date. Today is technically his birthday. And then he died a day later on January 31st, 2025. I was unsure about how I would feel going into this day and then going into tomorrow. But I spent a lot of time last year grieving, randomly crying at the drop of a hat for pretty much a good part of the year, because how can you mourn a parent's death? It takes a toll on your spirit and your soul. I have no problems with accepting the fact that I am truly open about the fact that I was in mourning pretty much all of last year. In addition to that, we came into the year, or more so the holiday, with my family just doing some random crazy stuff. On the back end, on my mom's side, my mom's younger brother, she is the oldest, is suing everybody in the family for land, their property that was passed down from generation to generation. You count it every 100 years. My ancestors worked their asses off to get this land during post Reconstruction era, after 1865. Some of it may have been before 1865 because some of them were free. But my uncle, who has quote unquote run the farm for the last however many years, since my grandfather passed away in 1997, has done nothing but steal from his entire family his whole life. We are just now taking our heads out of the clouds and realizing, as we uncovered stuff, using my professional background basically and my know-how in how to pull land documents and read deeds and do things like that. A lot of this came out, or started to come out, after my cousin's dad passed away, which was my uncle Clarence. And then there was a situation with the Black farmers settlement and lawsuit that we just uncovered a whole bunch of stuff that just was not okay. We knew it wasn't okay when my grandmother passed away 16 years ago, when he never had probate and sent us a will almost a year later after my grandmother passed away, saying that she had left everything to him. Now, mind you, my grandfather and grandmother had 6 kids and 10 grandchildren. But there's a lot of shady stuff going on. And I bowed out. Like, my mother is the oldest. And I told my mom, I said, I have a lot going on in regards to managing my own family, my own house, my own estate, taking care of my son, moves on to the next phase, was just going to college. And that is where my energy is going right now. I do not have time to sit up here and fight your shady ass brother who has been stealing land since I was a baby. Check that to you. Like, bro has been repositioning and stealing stuff under his parents' noses while they were alive. And because they trusted him implicitly and everybody else had left the farm to go off to pursue their careers and build a better life for themselves in the modern America we live in, nobody thought to check the books. And everybody just assumed he would take care of everybody. Assume, that is a huge assumption to make. And I go back to when I had first got out of banking school, and I was telling him, when I was working for a local bank at the time, that we could use some of the land and to make a ton of money just building small 1,500 to 2,000 square foot houses. His response to me was, at the time, Black folks don't need to be selling nothing. They always selling stuff. That's why most people be broke now. And he said I didn't know what I was talking about. 25 years later, he has sold off almost close to 1,000 acres, again, property. People have mysteriously died, and we still don't know what happened to him. And he was supposed to be handling and taking care of stuff. And he has the audacity to file legal papers to sue every heir listed on the heir property because he can't sell it because it's always been heir property, but let him tell it, my grandma left it to him. Well, it was never my grandmother's to fully be left to him at the time. So, like, it's so much shady stuff going on, and I have just bowed out gracefully. Like, I ain't got the patience to sit up here and deal with your bullshit no more. If y'all want to fight over the 148 acres that's left, then you have at it. I'm gonna go over here and buy my own goddamn land. Get the fuck out of my face. Excuse my language, but I don't think you guys understand how over that man's bullshit that I am. The last time I checked, my grandfather and my grandmother had 6 kids. And when my grandmother passed in 2010, that's when stuff started to get complicated. We don't know what happened. She mysteriously died from an operation that none of her other children agreed for her to have. Like, she died out of nowhere. It was like a shock. And when I say out of nowhere, I mean, we knew she had been getting sick, but I was expecting her to come home because I had just spoken to her like a day or two prior. So when she passed, it literally caught me off guard because, number one, her mother lived until she was 92. No, that she was going to at least make it to 80, right? And so a lot of stuff has been going on. And then when my grandfather passed in 1997, right, going into my senior year of high school, he left everything equally split up between all 6 kids. And my great grandfather, Jake, which was my grandmother's father, he left the same will, equally split between all his kids. At the time, it was my grandmother, my Uncle Tom, and my Uncle Junior. 3 kids. It's just a lot of shady shit going on. And I am at the point in my life, I am building my world, my assets, my legacy, my fortune for my family. If they want to sit over there and fight over stuff that's over 3 generations old, he needs to sell it now because he's broke probably and ain't got nothing else to sell because he done sold everything else. Technically, if you want to be honest and truthful about it, hell, he owe all of his siblings money from every deal that he's closed on real estate in the last years. You owe monies back from profits that you made because, again, the farm was never fully yours. You just worked it. I don't know how else to approach talking about this other than just telling the truth. This is my issue. It's one thing to come from a perspective of being Black in America, but it's another thing to come from a perspective of being Black in America and having had assets compiled over generations that have been handed down year after year after year or decade or century for one somebody to get their hands on it. And because of their greed, tear it all and burn it up in flames. Technically, you didn't work for any of it. We already had this land. A lot of that land that came into our family was by the hands of my grandfather making deals with my grandmother's father, who was also a businessman from the East Coast. While my grandmother may have died technically a millionaire, she, at the point of her death, was worth $2.67 million. And I don't even know if she honestly knew it, y'all. I just do because I pulled all her real estate land asset value, did the calculations on it, and figured it out. But she didn't work for none of that. Everything that she got, she either got by hands of my grandfather being married to him, or it was passed down to her from her father, inherited. And so this man, in 16 years, has destroyed what's been passed down from generation to generation over almost the last 300 years. Now that's some bullshit. But anyway, I think I'm going to do a series on this. I think this is breeding the background for me to talk about wealth and how it's either created or destroyed or managed in Black families, if it is there, and why can't we keep our hands on it if it is created and if it is left for us? Because I guarantee you, of the people who are present here in America as African Americans, we are one of probably 100 to 1,000 who had land like that. And not to say that we'll be the last ones, but let's talk about real generational wealth, because it only becomes generational wealth if you know how to maintain it and make it grow. You inheriting something from somebody that acquired it 100, 200 years ago can only be useful to you if you figure out how to make that asset profitable and put money in your pocket. Does that mean you have to sell it? Not necessarily, but there are other ways in order for you to make money. You shouldn't have to live off of work from 3 generations past to make your life work right now. That's ridiculous, especially if you've had 74 years to do it yourself. I'm just saying, what were you doing with your time? Because I know what I've been doing in the last 45 years of my life. I am very clear on what I've acquired, what I was building, what I have been building, will continue to build. I'm just wondering, you know, why do you feel like you have seniority in stewarding something that you didn't even create? You barely managed it because it, for real deal, on paper, looked like our family farm ain't made no money. I've basically chosen to remove myself from the drama because I just really can't take it no more. Like people backbiting each other, robbing Peter to pay Paul, stealing from Peter to steal from Paul, however you want to call it. I literally do not have the mental capacity to sit up there and deal with all that BS when you can simply go out here. This is America. You can go out here and build a life and make money for your family because of all of the opportunity that is out here in these streets for you to get. You just simply choose to not do so because you lazy and you want to protect what you stole. And it ain't even nothing there left to protect. As far as wealth was concerned, where I come from, we were one of the wealthiest asset based families in land, in excess of 1,000 acres. Did y'all hear how much we fight over? It is literally 148 acres left. All that work my ancestors did, all that fighting, all that nickel and diamond to scrap, to get it, to pay for it. And this man, over the course of 16 years, since 2010, my grandmother passed away January 4th, 2010, has literally squandered through it all. That's some bullshit. I want to talk about how when you build a bag, you protect a bag. And if your family or if your kids are not going to be smart enough to manage it properly, then you put it in something that will allow them to be set up for the rest of their lives. So they at least have something to stand on because we didn't. And I talk about this a lot. Of the 6 kids, my mother was the oldest, and my mother was also the poorest of the 6 kids because my father wouldn't work, or he would work and get fired and work and get fired. And after about 10 to 15 years of that, from the 70s to the mid 80s, you get tired of that and you figure you might as well do bad by yourself. And that's what she did. So we end up, as I'm growing up, being less fortunate, not because of circumstances per se given to us. It was more so circumstances where my father chose not to be a man and made choices of what he was going to do and what he wasn't going to do in regards to being a man and providing for his family. That's a story for another day, but I will figure out how to present this information over time in a way that can be productive because there's so many lessons that I've learned over the last, what, I've been out of undergrad now, I guess, goodness, I'm really shocked. 20 plus years, I'll say that. We have to do better, like Black folks. We have to do better. We have to be better stewards. That's the conversation I was having with my son the other day. I was like, buddy, you have to learn how to be a steward of money, not just make money and spend money. You have to learn how to be a steward of money to make money grow and learn to invest. Be smart about it. So, that being said, that is all for today's episode. I actually think I'm going to have my cousin on, Dr. Clarence McFerren. He is the first PhD in our family. He is a professor at Texas Tech. And I think we're just going to talk from a perspective of having experienced our background and how our conversation is always how we have had to work for literally everything. Think about the audacity of being a man in the 1800s and going and gathering land that you were going to pass down to your kids upon your deathbed. Like, you know how much of a boss you had to be to do that shit? This ain't even manifesting millions right here. This is manifested, emphasis on ed, past tense, millions, and what to do to keep those manifested millions from passing away. Thank you for your time. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.